Hello everybody. Today we will be talking about another type of fasteners which we use very commonly in our house, and that is the nail or screw fasteners. And as you know, fastener is a device which joins mechanically two or more objects together, and the type of fasteners which we use in our house, they are usually non-permanent joints, that is they can be dismantled, whereas welding is a typical example of permanent joints. So let us try to understand today how these fasteners they work. So we will start with a typical nail fastener which we drive inside a wall or a wooden object with the help of a hammer. But usually we may assume that when we are hammering it, it creates a hole in wood or wall. No, it is not like this. In fact, I want to clarify that a nail does not make a hole like this, because when we make this kind of hole, the material comes out. That is, if we make hole with the help of a punching machine, then you know that this material, it has come out. Whereas when we push a nail inside some object, then it simply pushes the material to another side of the surface. And this is what I want to clarify. When we are pushing some nail or screw, it pushes the material, the wooden material or the building material to one side, and then this material tries to come to its original position or form by applying pressure on the wall and the nail, and this creates friction. So let us try to understand it by another example. This is one typical nail, and assume that this is the wooden fiber or building material held tightly. So when we push a nail inside, what happens? The material of the wood, that is the wood fiber or the building material, they get apart like this, and now and the nail is held inside, it is slowly being pushed. Then this material tries to come to its original form by creating pressure on the wall and the nail and resulting in friction, and this is how a typical nail is held in its position. And similarly, let us try to understand how a typical screw works. This is one typical screw having threads, you can see on its surface. So if I have taken this cotton fiber, assume it to be wooden fiber, and if I try to push this screw inside some wooden object just like we push a nail, then probably it will be a situation like this, and the screw will come out. It will not be held tightly. Then how a screw is held tightly in its position? That is, we have to drive it like this inside. We have to drive it inside with the help of a screwdriver like this. And when we do this, what is happening? This screw which has these threads, it creates another type of thread inside the material, the wall or the wooden material. So then what happens? This is one set of thread, and there is another set of thread being created inside, and then this screw is held tightly. So this is how a screw works. So let us see some different typical screw systems. This is one nut and bolt system. It has threads here, and this is one nut, and it is pushed forward when we drive it like this. This is another kind of nut and bolt system, and you are seeing another object here. This is called spring washer. So what happens when we are driving this nut towards this head, and if we tight it very strongly, what may happen, this head may get damaged. So in order to prevent damage on this head, we use this kind of material. This is called spring washer. And another role of spring washer is that usually nuts and bolts, they are often used in different kinds of moving objects, and this nut starts getting loosened, starts coming out. But when we use this kind of typical spring washer, then this nut and bolt, they are held tightly and the nut does not get loosened. Then there is another type of fastener. This is called anchor fastener. So you must have seen we used some kind of rope or wire to spread our washed clothes. So this is one typical device which is fixed on two sides of the wall. So just see this typical fastener. You can see these are some arms. Initially they are held like this, and when we create a cavity in the wall and when we start driving this bolt, then what happens, these arms, they start opening. They open like this, and then they are held tightly inside the wall, and then this bolt does not come out. Then another example, whenever we are using this kind of screw, and if we are trying to push it inside a wall, what happens, often the building material comes out excessively, and this screw it is not held tightly inside the wall. So in order to hold it tightly, what we do, we use another kind of device. This is a typical nylon sleeve. This is called sleeve, this device. So we create a cavity in the wall and then we push this sleeve inside, and you see these arms, they are in the opposite direction and they hold. As soon as we drive this screw inside this sleeve, then they hold the screw very tightly. And whenever using some kind of nail system for furniture, then if we use this metallic nails or screw, wood has some extent of moisture. So when it comes in contact with the metallic nails or screw, then it results in rust and the wooden material gets damaged. So for wooden furniture and office cabinets, we use this kind of typical wooden nails. This is another kind of fastener. This is called wooden biscuit. And another thing I want to point out is that you see the heads of these two screws. This is one typical groove here for which we use this kind of screwdriver. This is how it is being driven. Then this is another type of screw where we have cross type of groove, and for which we use this kind of screwdriver. This is how it is driven inside. So in another chart I have shown typical nail fasteners. These are the typical nail fasteners. This is one nut and bolt system. This is one wooden nail, often it is called wooden peg also, and these are some of the nails being used by our ancient civilization. You can see different kind of nails here. So I hope this gives you first-hand information about typical nails and fasteners, screw type of fasteners. Thank you so much.